The chair is out on sick leave, so I'll be taking over. Councillor Greg Rivard, Councillor Mike Duffy, Councillor Alana Yankoff, CAO Peter Kelly, and Police Chief Smith, McDonald, Coombs, and me. Mr. Murphy, I'm sorry.
Scott Adams in the corner over there.
Oh yeah, sorry Scott, you're over there hiding.
That's all right.
All right, Mr. Kelly, would you like to start
So,
maybe?
Mr. Chair, as you're aware that we have met on site with a few of the business owners, and we came up with 9 points that we wanted them to adhere to. From what I understand, it caused some concern, and that's the reason why they're here to speak to you about those 9 points. I would suggest that we hear from Ben's when I emailed first. There are others who wish to speak as well. He had asked if he would speak for the first time, but if there's any points of clarification at the end, he would like the chance to clarify. So I say at the end, you'll have one other chance to clarify points, but everybody should be offered the chance to speak if that's what you want to do as,
Yes.
as a committee. And then obviously this has to go to council tonight for recommendation and for council's discussion.
Excellent. Mr. Murphy.
Wait,
Oh, sorry. Oh,
come on. Do you want to one of those chairs, or do you want to sit in there?
he's always on stage.
I know, we're gonna do some chairs.
Hey,
You're not nervous, right?
Nobody's this baby in the corner. Dirty dancers.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Okay. Everyone ready? Mr. Murphy, you're up.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
just for the record, this is being recorded and it's also being streamed live, and so it is it's part of the official records.
So no profane language, and we're all right.
That's correct.
Okay.
And adhere to the rules and respect.
All right, Ben, you're good to go?
Sweet. Well, thanks everyone for coming on such a nice day. I'm just going to go through our original proposal, I guess, to the city first in brief detail. Apologies to some of the departments, which we did, I guess, 2 weeks ago now. So yeah, we've been in discussions for a number of years, obviously, to turn Sydney Street into a pedestrian street. The latest thing is we had a meeting with Public Works, City, Fire, the CAO, a couple councillors were down on the street. We walked through the plan, and it was probably the most positive meeting we've had over the number of years there. We are very much of the opinion that we are trying to find how to make this work and find solutions for some of the issues that were brought up, and rightfully so. Rather than just saying, no, this can't work. I think the only change in the original proposal, which is like the third or fourth page after my little sketch there, I switched. We originally asked the date to be June 22nd to close, so that's updated to July 8th based on this conversation. I think pedestrian streets we've seen, every other day in whether it's on CBC or in different papers, and I've forwarded them a lot to you guys and to council. They're closing down streets, expanding patios to give restaurants, especially this summer, to give restaurants a fighting chance. And I would say PEI currently has the most strict regulations for restaurants, with only 50 people allowed inside. So this is the year to trial this project. And I know there's a bigger plan going forward, maybe in the next couple of years, but that's not today, and we won't be talking about that. So I'd like to go through each point. I'm going to focus on point 8 and 9. So, but I think we have a great opportunity again to create another pull to downtown Charlottetown. I think I was talking with all the restaurants here outside today, and I can tell you what, July 1st and the last few days have been pretty quiet, and there's no draw downtown. I can tell you Vic Row is a draw downtown, and it pulls people, and we need more of that, more reasons for people to come downtown and not go out east, out west, whatever it is. So this Sydney Street pedestrian walkway, the pilot project for this year, I think can provide that. Also on the streets, we've seen the numerous cities, and I think everyone in this room, definitely council, has received Discover Charlottetown's approval for pedestrian walkways. I would speak to, we are a very well-rounded board at Discover Charlottetown with restaurants, accommodations, retailers, and every single one of them voted that pedestrian walkways are a benefit to cities and that they'll drive business downtown. So we feel that this is the year to make that happen. So if you go to your first page, it's just the drawing that I'm sure all of you have seen. So into Peter's email that he sent on June 26th. One, staff are recommending that Sydney Street from Queen to Great George be closed. We are okay with that. We'll get into, it kind of ties into a little bit of number 9, so I'll talk a little bit more about that after. One of the major concerns we've had over the past 2 or 3 years in dealing with this was fire's concerns with the proper footage to be able to get through. We came up with a compromise on the street a couple weeks ago that seemed to work for everyone, where they still have their 20 feet. And if you look at my sketch on the next page, we've agreed to the sidewalk on the side of Old Dublin and Brickhouse. We've agreed to keep that 100% clear. So, and fire has agreed to count that 3 feet into their footage to give them a full 20 feet, which is to one of their codes. I'm not sure the exact thing, but NFPA maybe, to give them, just in case of an emergency, there'll be a 20-foot right of way all down Sydney Street all the time. Number 3, Sydney Street activities must maintain. I believe that has to do just with the fire hydrant, and that's no problem. No issue there. 4, we agree with, no parking will be permitted on Sydney Street. Correct. 5, any alcohol consumption. We're dealing with the Liquor Commission. Any issues, we would reach out to police as well. Outside of our patios, because in the plan, we want to create a little bit of a destination on Friday and Saturday nights, which we will, again, if this is successful, we will deal with that on a separate basis. Gates. I don't know why they need to be on both ends, but we're fine with both ends. Definitely at one end, a bollard or something in place to stop cars from going down Sydney Street. Number 7, delivery companies must concur with delivery times. So if you go past the proposal, there is, I would say, a letter from 95% of the deliveries companies that are delivering on that street on a regular basis, all agreeing to, and some even preferring the time of day to making sure that we deliver. So they're all there before 11, and that is all from the big national con, whether it's GFS, Cisco, down to MR Seafood or Rogers or Aubrey's Bottle Exchange. They would all prefer to be out of downtown before traffic gets too busy, and so that's not an issue. Number 8, and now we get into a couple of issues that we've seen with the proposal. Approval must be received from business and building owners on Vic Row, Queen Street, who use Sydney Street for service delivery. So if you go to past all the letters and go to one where there's a picture, a couple building owners, a couple in this room as well, have expressed concern about the proximity of delivery vehicles to their building and be able to get to it. I want to make sure clear too, they will be able to deliver before 11 a.m. every day. So there is a chance that the delivery company could not have the same delivery spaces they normally have. Once they miss it once, they will, and it was that big a deal, I would expect them to fix it and not miss it again. Just to put it into perspective as well, I did a little Google Maps there. If they do miss it, they have to walk another 46 meters. I don't think that's an extraordinary ask for someone that we're paying for a service, if they have to park on the corner of Queen and Sydney. They will figure it out. They will drop it. We are one of those businesses as well with Fishbones. They will deliver to our back door. If they do miss the delivery or we need to get a delivery in, they have to walk another 46 meters. To put it into perspective, There's two other ones. We have two locations in Halifax on a regular basis. Our two Halifax locations, which some of these companies that deliver would be the same, deliver on a every day, every 80 meters and 140 meters respectively. So this is not a new thing. This should not be a reason for looking at a big picture city idea to try to drive downtown. We should not be worried that a delivery driver might have to walk another 40 meters. Maybe have to walk another 40 meters. And I guess too, when it comes down to number 8 is approval from other business owners. I don't think it's reasonable for us to ask approval for our competition to approve us a destination or something that's not their business. While it might cause them a minor inconvenience with the delivery times, I don't feel that we should have to get approval for them to do it. It all has been communicated to everyone. Everyone has this plan. Everyone knows the delivery times. If it gets approved, they will adapt their business accordingly and continue moving on. As stated in our original proposal, the doors or the gates to the street will be locked with a key given to whoever is needed. That includes any business owner that might need to get into emergency. I know Jeff mentioned last year he had to bring an electrical company in at whatever, probably 5 o'clock on a Friday, because that's normally when that stuff happens. And they had to get up there. He would have a key. They would be able to get in. It's for that, again, that odd case or that chance that something happens. That should not be a reason why this we can't create this destination district street. We see the benefit on Vic Row. We had the opportunity to create another one and continue to drive business downtown. So that's number 8. Number 9, access for apartment residents must be through the church, which is kind of where the MLAs park, church and private parking lots. So again, I stress that this is a pilot project. I don't think it's feasible in terms of time or money to landscape that, pave it, and get all that done for summer 2020. We are of the belief, the Kents and Craig's here too, that is the long-term solution for this project, and in the bigger plan that currently CADC has out, and the owner of those residential lots is willing to give up a couple spots in the long-term play for this project to do that, to enter from Great George Street. So we are asking that you'll be able to come out onto Sydney Street, originally as our proposal. There are approximately 30 to 40 cars in these two lots. It doesn't close till 11 o'clock in the morning. So I think a large percentage of those people that live in those buildings work, live, and play downtown. For those who don't, I assume they're at work before 11 o'clock in the morning. So they're leaving at 8:30, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever time it is. Their life is not changing at all. They're going right, they're going down Sydney Street and out. So, and then at 11, we shut the street down. They come home from work. We have a sign at the top of the street that says no through traffic, dead end. Whatever we decide with Public Works is the best way to do that. They drive right down the street, take a right into their parking lot like nothing's changed. So, but the only opportunity is, the only issue is that if they leave between, whatever, they get home from work and they want to go out to a friend's house, they do have to take a left and go up the street. It would turn into a two-way and get out. This has been happening every Sunday for the last 4 or 5 years in the city without complaint, without any issues from anyone in this room, or any voice issues, I guess. So they'll figure this out, and once it becomes normal, this is not going to be an issue. This is a very minor inconvenience again. If they all left after it, it's 30 or 40 cars a day, and they're popping in and out. This is the perfect year to try for this pilot project. the issues, the two issues that are left, because we feel we've addressed the life safety concerns, which obviously was a major issue with the 20-foot right of way. We've addressed that concern, and we feel that these two outstanding issues are very minor in the grand scope of things. And I think it's up to this committee and council to, obviously there's going to be naysayers and people that are for it. It's up to this committee to look forward and what's best for Charlottetown. And we're of the belief that this can be a huge win for Charlottetown and downtown, and drive a lot of business downtown, as well as to give us some extra seats with the 50-person capacity, because I don't see that being. There's been no recommendation put forward by health that that's going to change. So anything that we can do to improve our product and be able to seat more people is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Ben. I just omitted there that we should have only left it to about 5 minutes for each one to speak. I'm sorry about that, Ben, but you had a lot of points and all that stuff. So I think it's past the 5, Mr. Kelly?
12:40.
Yeah. So, things like that, because if not, we can be here morning, noon, and night. And we just want everyone to make their points. And I think Ben made some great points and hit everything on the head, the nail on the head. So,
I believe there's others who may wish to speak.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, so again, it's just that people move around.
Thank you, Ben.
Just respect.
Thank you.
Great.
Social distancing, please.
yeah.
Did you want council to ask questions, committee members to ask questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Ben? Greg?
No, I just I'm okay with, I think there's only one other speaker, but I think we just need to make sure that they're allotted the same amount of time.
Yes.
If need be,
Yeah.
to speak, so I get the 5-minute thing, but
Yeah, okay,
just need a minute, but
sure.
I don't want to see anything cut off.
No, that's right.
Just,
Sorry.
Mr. Chair, with regards to the church, I understand they are opening. In your statement, you're saying they're not going to open. That's what you have in.
Again, that was what we presented, and I think things are changing so quickly. Last year when we presented with the church, we'd be willing to open later or close it later on Sunday if that was an issue.
So have you had discussions with the
This
church
year,
about
no.
the situation?
No. But we've had discussions with them in the past about closing, and they seem fine with the extension of maybe I think church is at 10:30, 11 maybe on Sunday. So we could do it an hour later if they felt the need. But again, the capacity at the churches isn't going to be full capacity this summer either. So.
Mr. Duff, or Councillor Duffy, any?
No, I'm fine.
Councillor Rivera?
I'm going to wait till the presentations are done.
Certainly.
And I will ask questions.
Very well.
Thank you.
Okay.
And just any other
Anyone else got any questions for Mr. Murphy?
or making a statement? No, so this is
Anyone
my
would like to make a
statement.
statement? Jeff?
Yeah.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thanks for having me, everybody. I'll try to keep it to 5 minutes. I'm not
Well,
as
I'll go a little
well
over if you
spoken
want, Ms. Ben, whatever.
First of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Sinnott. I'm co-owner of Red Island Hospitality Group, which operates 5 restaurants, 4 in downtown Charlottetown, including John Brown's on Richmond Street. We do operate 5 restaurants, and the busiest of those 5 is John Brown's. Now, the idea of closing Sydney Street has been around since I've been down there for 12 years, and it's come up every year in some form of discussion. I was always under the impression, or with people I've talked to, that because fire and police were not totally in favor of this, that it would never come to any kind of decision that we're voting on right now. Ben mentioned that Discover Charlottetown was in favor of pedestrian streets, and I sit on that board with Ben, and I am in favor of pedestrian streets. I live and work on Victoria Row, and anyone that's been up Victoria Row has probably seen me standing at the front door. I consider that to be the baby of my company. There was a vote before that with Discover Charlottetown, because Discover Charlottetown was asked to present this case to you folks instead of individuals. And because I voted against that, when it was brought up amongst Discover Charlottetown, they wanted a unanimous consent, and I didn't favor it, so I voted against it. And to be honest with you, I haven't been in communication with anybody about this since, because I was pretty much left out on that. Sorry, I will keep it to 5 minutes. So John Brown's last year, to just give you a little information about John Brown's. It is a busy restaurant, and we received over 2,200 deliveries up that street and up that driveway behind John Brown's. There's 6 restaurants on that street. There's the Old Dublin Pub, Brick House, Fishbones, Receiver, and China Garden, and John Brown's. And we all share that driveway for those deliveries. So if you can imagine, I got 2,200 deliveries myself for one of those 6 restaurants. Ben mentioned that deliveries would prefer to be in and out in the morning, and yes, I'm sure they would prefer to be in and out in the morning. I'd prefer to be out in and out in the morning myself, but I'm not. I work there all day. I have in that same letter from GFS that Ben received, and it's word for word the same, except it says to Jeff instead of to Ben. It doesn't guarantee that they'll be in and out. They'll make all the necessary steps to try to be in and out. Our delivery on Monday from GFS was at 1:30 in the afternoon. There's many reasons why a truck can't get from Amherst to Charlottetown in an hour and a half. Like, there's many stops to make. The delivery driver stops at a store, and there's no one there to receive that store on the way to Charlottetown. They have to wait for that person to show up to accept that order. 46 meters minimum, 46 meters to carry something. I'm not sure how many people in this room have carried a 200-pound keg of draft 46 meters. It's not easy. And to say that it's a minimum inconvenience, you try carrying 40 kegs of draft, a minimum 46 meters, and tell me that that's a minimum inconvenience. That's a major inconvenience. Our other major supplier is the Liquor Commission, the LCC. We get our orders from the Liquor Commission. We usually typically place our orders on Monday for all the properties, and we don't get those orders until they release them. This is a government operation. They don't come in early to accommodate one street. You place their order, they put it together, they call the delivery guy, the delivery company goes to the warehouse, they line up, and then when it's their turn to receive that order, it's given to them. Then they put it on their truck, then they drive downtown. It just doesn't come as fast as you think. That's our 2 biggest suppliers. John Brown's, we are a beer and wine bar. We sell beer from 6 local craft breweries from east to west. They don't live here in Charlottetown. A lot of them don't live here in Charlottetown, but they all are island companies. 2 cideries as well. They're not exactly big, so these island businesses are struggling just like every other island there is. This is not just limited to Charlottetown. One of our companies, Moth Lane, they had 230 deliveries to us last year. They're coming from Tyne Valley. The same guy that makes that beer delivers that beer. So when he makes that beer, he puts it in a keg. He drives to the town, and as soon as it's ready, that could be Sunday night. It could be Monday morning. It could be whenever he has it ready. So that was 230 times just for that brewery. Off Street was 147 times. Copper Bottom was 78 times. He's coming from Montague. Riverdale Orchards. They delivered to us 27 times last year for cider. It's a couple that runs that business, and that couple are both over 60 years old. I'm not asking a 60-year-old man to carry up the street. We deal with many local businesses. MRC Foods was 76 deliveries. Pastry One was 26 deliveries. A1 Vacuum supplies everybody in Charlottetown. There were 94 deliveries. ADL was 44. I have a picture on my phone this morning from ADL delivery truck on Sydney Street with GFS on the other side of the street, and the whole street's gone. Buns and Things was 33 times, Harvest Wholesale's 39 times, Dennis Office Supplies 17 times. We had 153 deliveries from Mike's Queen Street Market. This is a guy that just rebuilt his store, and he's not having an easy time with any of this either. If you can picture mussels or tenderloin being carried up a street through people eating, I gotta believe it's not very attractive to see smelling, seafood being carried up in public. Island Oxygen had 23 deliveries to us last year for canisters of Alligal. This is a very volatile, it's basically pressure in a can. When they get delivered, they had to be secured to the wall so they don't fall over once they're already in the building. Carrying them up a street, whatever, 46 meters or whatever it was, if one of those falls over, it's going to burst. It's going to explode. It's a bomb. Okay. No one he basically told me he won't deliver it if he can't get up the street. That was our deliveries. I'm not going to go through all 2,200 of them. We do have many service people that do many service things. Ben touched on one. There was a fan belt broke on a hood. If we can't get that hood to draw the heat out of the kitchen, we can't operate. We'd just be shut down. I know you can say we can get the key and unlock it, and it's not quite as accessible as that. I'm not going to list all the service calls, but there was over 100 service calls last year during the summer, and I can't tell you what time of day that's going to happen. Plumbing issues. We don't want to be driving through people eating with it's a perception of a restaurant, but plumbing issues do happen. I'm kind of skipping along here. So I'm working on Victoria Road right now. Yeah, it is ordinarily a busy street. We all know it's not going to be as busy this year. There are several shops on that road right now that are struggling. There's several shops on that road that aren't even open because of the lack of tourism. If you've been down to the waterfront lately, the waterfront is not busy. There's a lot of stores down there. There's Founders Hall. There's not enough people to simply add another street to split that small crowd in half for these stores that are already struggling, and probably some of them are going to lose their business. I don't know how we can justify saying, well, this restaurant needs more tables, when this group of restaurants and shops aren't going to make it through the year, and we're going to split that crowd in half. I have a real big problem with that. I'm trying to keep it short here. Basically what I'm saying, if you closing the street will limit my ability to provide service to our customers. If you close that street down, if you cut that back door off, you're basically cutting off my ability to operate. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions from the audience or council for Jeff? Sorry, Lana, I keep forgetting you back there.
So, Mr. Chair, you should ask if there's any other speakers from those that are here.
Is there any other speakers that would like to present anything?
I'd just like to speak on it.
Yes, go right ahead, sir. Would you like to state your name? And
My name's Gordy Clow. I'm kind of a new guy in the block. I just bought China Garden there in December. And I'm all for, getting people downtown, because I know with the times now, we got to try to, everybody's got to try to help everybody out. We do have deliveries also that come through the back door, as Jeff was saying, and I don't know. I've been talking to some of them, and I've been saying, well, if we close the street down, you guys are going to have to be here at 11, and some of them say they can't guarantee it, but some of them say, well, we'll try our best. I don't know how that's going to fare out like, you know, what's gonna happen in that situation. Or do we have to go run around and try to find somebody that has a key to open up the door to let the delivery guy through, or if he can get through, not knowing how busy it's gonna be. Another issue that we have is, the previous owners that own the 2 buildings that are on Queen Street and that they do my cooking for me, have been parking out back in there. They own a lot of space back there in behind where we all are, and they park back there because we don't want people parking out in front of the shop or parking down because that's where we like to have the customers. And they're going to end up getting ticketed all the time. Like we've gotten at Christmas time and throughout the winter, we've gotten tickets because we're open late. We're open till 3 o'clock in the morning on the weekends. They're doing snow removal. We're running around trying to get cars moved and stuff like that. So this is where they chose to park, and they own all that property. Now I know it's a right of way, and it's accessible for everybody, but they do own that property that they've been parking back there for years now. We don't open up until 4 o'clock. So the 11 o'clock rule is kind of bad for us because they usually go in around 3, 2:30, 3 o'clock. If they are allowed just to go in, park their car, go slow, park their car. I don't think are you planning on parking or putting the gate just before the Old Dublin or right up at the end of the corner?
Our proposal is to put it just above Old Dublin.
Okay, so they wouldn't have that far to go. They might have 25, 30 feet or 40 feet, whatever it is, just to drive in. And another thing we were saying, maybe the church parking lot up there might give us a spot or two up there to park, and that would solve the problem. They would just walk down to work. But those are a couple of the concerns that we have. Mostly the delivery, like out front, we have no problem, but out back is where the deliveries are, and where like if I have to go run get something in the afternoon, pick up something because the delivery people can't get there. You know, I don't want to have to start lugging it all through the restaurant. I want to be able to go in through back there and drop it off. Those are just a couple of things that we have. We don't have a whole lot of issues, but you know, I think it's great what's going to happen if it happens. But just, you know, we all got to give a little and take a little in order to have things work right. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Gordy. Anybody else would like to speak on behalf, or?
I wasn't from Lipton Kegs. My name is Kent McPhee. I wasn't expecting to speak today. Anyway, I'm one of the Kents with the Old Dublin Pub and the Claude Oyster House. And anyway, again, on behalf of Kent and I, thanks everyone for taking time on a busy day. This is our 3rd summer on Sydney Street. And 2 summers ago, Ben and Kevin and Craig and team had approached us to tackle this very project. And we put it on tentative state for the first couple of summers until we kind of got our feet under us and got a lay of the land and understood everybody's, you know, concerns in the neighborhood. And and we weren't perhaps for it in other previous years, although we were willing to give it a pilot. I think we all know this year is very different. It's very different. And Jeff referenced Canada Day, and you know, we talked about, you know, traffic downtown in the last couple of weeks, and it's gut wrenching. You know, whether you're in the restaurant business or in the hotel business, it's gut wrenching. And you know, I think most times we're pretty neighborly, and we certainly understand Jeff and Gordy's concerns. I guess I don't think it will cut people's traffic in half. I think it will bring more. Victoria Row has been, you know, a destination for a number of years. I've dined there for many times, and I don't think it will necessarily play havoc with that. I think it will bring more people downtown, and that's subject to everyone's opinion, right? The delivery, you know, I guess first and foremost with us, health and safety was front row and center. And the crew that came down to look at Sydney Street, thank you for granting our wishes that, it does meet the code of 20 feet. So Public Works and Fire and Police, that was front row and center. Is it an inconvenience to some? Yes, it likely is. And we can debate all day whether it's a minor one or a major one. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of businesses trying to survive in downtown, and we're just a few of them. At the end of the day, we're just a few of them. And I totally get, supporting island suppliers, large or small, and I get that. And we've likely had, a similar amount of deliveries as each of the places have had. And, we have spoke with every one of them. They do recognize it's not ultra convenient, but they're willing to work with us because they're partners. And the summer is something we on Sydney Street very much look forward to, because I'll tell you, you don't make a whole lot of money in the winter. We are a year-round operation on Sydney Street. And I'll tell you, January, you don't look forward to January or February. And outside of St. Patrick's Day in March, we don't look forward to March either. So we count on the summer traffic. And with the limitations, and we use a lot of the same suppliers and recognize that some of them are aging, and it's not convenient, but we're willing to help them lug it in, if you will. Whether it's kegs or oysters or beef, whatever the case may be, we have a lot of young legs in the place that will help them get it to us. I'm not two of them, but anyway, in short, we would appreciate the consideration. We are the 5 restaurants that we're referencing on Sydney Street do slug it out year-round. And we feel very strongly that it will bring more traffic downtown. And to Richmond Street, and to the small retailers and boutiques on Queen and Richmond Street. We just think more traffic coming downtown will be a benefit to the city and the downtown core. So anyway, I appreciate, as we all do, any considerations that can be granted, and we're not asking for more than our share. We're asking for a piece of the share. It's not very big this year, as we all know, and we're not crying wolves. We're just saying it is a tough year. And Roger McDonald, we all know Roger McDonald, and he was our very first phone call to get his understanding and buy-in so that we could all have liquor deliveries. And surprisingly, Roger was on board within seconds, and he said, I can understand why you would want to pilot that this summer of all summers. He said, one note, he said, our deliveries will not take very long this summer. They will not take as long as they have in other summers when you're capped at 50. So anyway, I don't envy, it's a tough decision. Don't envy the decision makers, but we would very much appreciate consideration to try it for 1 year, and I don't think there's any better year to try it than in this strange 2020. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay.
Anyone else like to speak?
I'll maybe say a few words.
Oh, I didn't worry.
Can I do that?
Yes,
Just coming in late.
You're okay?
On the podium.
I'll just take your name and everything, Heidi, because it's being recorded.
Sure.
Please.
It's Heidi Zinn with Discover Charlottetown. Thanks for having me. I wasn't planning on coming. It's a very interesting issue to us at Discover Charlottetown. As most of you know, Jeff and Ben are both on my board. I love them both dearly and respect them both so much as business owners. And of course, we love working with Kent, and I don't know you yet. I hope that we can work with you as well. Pedestrian streets are so important for destinations, and I think we all know how long it took to get Victoria Row off the ground, how many naysayers there were about Victoria Row. And now from a marketing perspective, when I look at why people come and what people like to take pictures, it is the Victoria Rows. So I know that it's not without challenge from a safety perspective, from a fire perspective, from a competition perspective, from a delivery perspective. But I do think that having more iconic destinations within our city will bring more people to the city. We can't think of it as the same piece of pie. We have to think of it as a bigger piece of pie, and more people will go to different areas. And I think this is a tremendous year to try it, to see if logistically we could figure it out, to see if the deliveries are a nightmare. Because if it turns out to be a good thing, in 10 years, we're going to be laughing at how hard this was to get off the ground. So I really hope, and Jeff, I'm so sorry, because I really respect your businesses, and I understand that it is a difficulty, but I do think we need to keep pushing forward for new tourism product. So I hope that we can try and figure out a way to make this work this year. Thanks.
Thank you, Heidi. Any other speakers? Any questions? Councillor Duffy?
I'm fine.
I knew that, but I just wondered if you had any questions.
I'm better.
Councillor Rivard?
So, Chair, if I could.
Yes, sir.
and Mr. Murphy had asked to speak just to clarify any points, but again.
Would you like to, Ben, or?
Yeah, I'll just take 2 seconds, I guess.
Okay.
I think Heidi summed it up nice, kind of what I was going to say. Again, I think the two outstanding issues, we can debate, like Ken said, whether it's a major or minor inconvenience to them. At the end of the day, for the delivery point of things, is we pay them for the service. They are suppliers of ours. If they want to continue, 2,200 deliveries is a lot of business for suppliers to John Brown's. 2,200 is a lot to Old Dublin or us or whatever. They will figure it out, and they will get us their product if they want to continue to sell their product. So, again, to a big picture tourism driver, I don't worrying about a supplier delivery should not affect that decision. Just a number to put it into perspective as well. GFS has like a time percentage that they hold themselves accountable to. So like if your delivery is supposed to be between 7:40 and 8 o'clock in the morning, they have that set for every restaurant that they deliver to. They hit that time over 90% of the time. So they are good, but we're talking about very small instances that may or may not happen, or no, that will happen, just not that often in some of these instances. So get it done. And to Gordy's point, if we can't find them 2 parking spots to make this done, to get this happen, I don't think that should be the reason that we don't. So again, I to Heidi and Ken's point, I am a firm believer that a rising tides will raise all boats. So I do think we can continue to drive more traffic downtown this year, and I agree. If anyone in this room sitting back, and I know Vic Row was a hassle back in the day. I think a couple of councillors maybe might have been around during that. It wasn't smooth, but I think we can all look back right now and look at Victoria Row and say we're all pretty excited we have Victoria Row and what all that's done for the city. And we see it now in City Street, just by putting up those lights, to Heidi's point. Like, we put up the lights, it's a destination now, people get pictures in front of it. We need more product, and this can be one of them. So there is solutions to the life safety issues, which we hopefully found a couple weeks ago. So there's solutions to this, and again, it's the committee and council's leadership and foresight that has to take, both sides of it. I get Jeff's side, and we're here presenting our side. And decide what's best for Charlottetown. So, thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Ben. Any rebuttal? Gregory, you up? Anyone else for Councillor Rivard?
Yeah, if everyone's done, I can certainly ask questions. I didn't write tons of notes, so bear with me for a second. So just to touch on Heidi's comment first, I certainly agree. I think we all agree the importance of pedestrian streets, and even Jeff, speaking, also said the importance of a pedestrian street. For the pedestrian street. So I don't think that's lost on anyone. I think everyone agrees to that. I think even to the city to that point. Are working with CADC right now, and looking to hire a contractor or whoever consultant to come in and review not only those 2 streets, but a much bigger picture for Charlottetown, because it is important. So again, to Heidi's point, you know, again, I don't think anyone in this room disagrees. Now, I guess moving on from that, now that I've pumped Heidi's tires, no. I'm just teasing. To your email, Peter, that you sent out to council, just a couple of questions. So when you say staff is recommending that Sydney Street from Queen to Great George be closed, can you elaborate on staff? Is that fire, police, and public works who were involved?
So it's a combination, so fire was not in support of the street closing at all from what I understand of our discussions. Police were okay with it being halfway, again with the proper barricades or and a markings. Public Works for the most part was opposed to the street, was in favor of opposing the whole street due to the fact that to create two-way traffic on a one-way street will be further problematic. And at the end of the day, when we met last time, that was the outcome that we had suggested as a possible compromise, knowing that there would be 20-foot access points for both fire and police should need be.
Okay, before I ask the next question about the email, does fire or police or public works want to add anything to?
Well, yeah, I'd like to
Go ahead, Chief.
for a moment. Just for a point of clarity, the 20 feet, we talk about 20 feet a lot, has to be maintained. The code allowed us to be able to reduce that a little bit, provided, and I will quote from the code, in one condition to consider in reducing access road width would be to intent travel in one direction only. Now, I know Ben during his presentation mentioned that somebody would go into the parking lot, come back out, turn left and go up Sydney Street, creating a two-way situation. That may be something we would have to revisit, but based our decision based on the city's plan or proposal would include going through the parking lot as opposed to going back out onto City Street. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And we also understand, we work hard with our business community. We understand the trials and the challenges and whatnot. We all live it. But at no time does the fire department ever want to see something that would hinder our access to any citizen for a rescue operation or for fire suppression. But we do have to deal with the public and work with people.
And can I say?
Certainly.
One comment on that as well, which I didn't bring up today, but which we talked about on the street a lot, was we are under the impression that if we turn this into pedestrian street, patios or tables in the parking spots is more safe or safer than cars in the parking lot. Chief brought up seconds do matter in a fire, and they obviously do. It's easier to move a table than tow a car. So we feel that if with the 20 feet now that they'll be able to get in, they will have more room to operate with tables rather than cars.
Chief, is that it?
Again, providing the one-way, two-way version has to be ironed out, and we can reduce it down to tables and chairs. Okay? That's the point of clarification I wanted to make.
Chief Smith?
From our perspective, we can operate either way, as it was discussed at one point, whether the access would come through the parking lots, then that just shuts it off that much easier. Where you don't have that access going through the parking lots, you can still restrict it at the top end of local traffic, and so you're basically funneling traffic in just through one access point. So we, from a policing perspective, we can make it work either way.
Mr. Adams, where are you at?
I guess one of our biggest concerns is if this was to be approved, we'd want to close off at the intersection. And the reason is we do not want people coming down halfway and having to turn around in the parking lot. People do ignore signs, everyone sees it every day. So you get someone that's lived downtown for 50, 60 years, have always been able to go down Sydney Street and then have to turn around in the parking lot. Now you're putting the liability risk on a private owner, private parking lot, and so it leaves liability for the city, because we are saying you come down here and turn in that parking lot, which we don't technically want people to do. So that's kind of the biggest issue with, or one of the biggest issues with not closing it up at the intersection. The second biggest concern is for opening and closing it constantly. You get someone that comes in the morning, I can go down Sydney Street one way. 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. it switches now. I can go down Carter Way, but now I'm going to be faced with traffic coming the opposite direction. So to continuously change a street from one-way to two-way every day can get complicated and confusing. There's signage that has to be either covered or uncovered, so there's the issue of who is responsible for that, and it's not going to be someone that understands it. So there's a lot of concerns with swapping it from a one-way to a two-way, especially where it's always been one-way. So those are kind of the two main concerns from Public Works.
Thank you. Councilor Rivard.
Okay, thanks, thanks everyone. So back to the email, Peter, and I sound like a lawyer here, and I apologize. The nine points that you identify in your email, was the intent that these 9 all be adhered to? Because I see the word, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I should be. The word must in there, is that again, must being obligated to? Is that the intent of the email? I'm trying to understand the email that you sent to it was to Ben, Kent, Craig, Kevin, and Alana, then to council, but just trying to understand.
So these were the issues that were raised at the time we met on site and also with the follow-up and meetings. We thought in order to move this file forward that we needed these issues addressed, and so we've asked for that in the last line to provide the information. Whatever information they could provide would then go back to this group, and if we're satisfied it meets the thrust of the approach, we'd move forward, and if not, obviously we would continue to wait for additional information.
Yeah, and just to clarification on that too. So to our point, we reached out to Peter after receiving that email. We disagree with 8. I guess is like I stated. I don't think our competition should have to approve something that we're trying to do. Our delivery plan and some inconveniences to them has been communicated to them. So that was our kind of fix on 8 and 9. It's not feasible for money or time this year to shut it down halfway. So we felt we've addressed the 7, and hopefully council or the committee can come around on the last 2 and say, let's give this a shot for one summer, and we can review it after the summer.
So Ben, when you say, yeah, I appreciate the community communicated too, but it doesn't sound like it was really done more than ask and trying to work with. Listen, I'm torn on this. I'll just be frank with this. I'm really torn on this because I absolutely see the value in more pedestrian streets. At the same time, during this time, we talk about helping businesses during this summer especially. But how can we help businesses and at the same time potentially hurt others or not address the concerns? Now, I know we keep talking about Jeff here, and Jeff, he's not the only one I've heard from. I did receive an email last night. I think the rest of council did from someone who had concerns. But I also received 3 phone calls from business owners that didn't want to speak to this, just because they didn't want to rupture any business or relationships or anything like that. So they want to remain silent, but still want their voice to be heard. A little bit difficult in our role, because usually we like something in writing or so for the file. But again, I certainly do appreciate them reaching out to me as well. So again, I'm torn in what I think is a good idea and helping some, but not having all the plans and details secured and potentially hurting others. And I don't think that there was enough collaboration in this. And maybe no fault of yours, I'm not blaming anybody, but it just appears from listening to you today, Ben, and Jeff as well, that there wasn't the communication that's needed from all the store owners in that area to come down to a good workable plan that involves some give and take on all ends, as opposed to what we have here, which is still not unanswered questions. Because the plan I see here, which again, don't take my remarks as being negative, because they're not, but you're closing the street and using access to the parking lots, where the email that we received said that Public Works is okay with it, but then Public Works is saying we'd rather see it shut down the top. So the plan doesn't work for Public Works. Scott, is that correct? It's not ideal.
It's not the best solution, no. We would like it at the top of the block, which is typically where we require in the events that close down this portion of Great George. They're supposed to close it at or sorry, not Queen Street, when we have that's Queen Street, we usually close it at Great George and Sydney Street, and we'll allow local access, but there's someone manning that gate allowing someone to go to the parking lot and back. That's usually the process that we follow. So that, without a gate at the top of the street, it gets murky, and it's, from a safety standpoint, it's not the safest option to go for.
Right, man?
Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
Getting back to number 8, I was never saying no because I'm a competitor. I'm happy to work with Ben. I'm saying no because to me, it's not possible to get all those trucks into that driveway at the same time. I'm not saying no because we're in competition. If you were on Richmond Street yesterday, I helped the Fishbone staff flip their tables over. We worked together.
And that's not, sorry, Jeff, that's not what I was implying. I think the whole premise of getting approval from your competitors is unnecessary step for any proposal that's in front of committees or councils. And to your point, sorry, on the concerns, the private concerns,
Yeah.
very difficult for us to address concerns when they're not vocalized. So how can we?
Listen, that's why I'm not.
So it's very
I get
to
it.
bring them up, or even to say that we've gotten calls. Well, unfortunately, without knowing the concerns, we cannot address them.
I get it, but as a city councilor who's making a decision, it has to resonate a little bit with us without proof. Again, it has to, because we have heard from them, and to totally ignore it because they're scared of business relationships or like that, I think would be, I don't think I'd be doing my job either too. So I get what you're saying, Ben, that's why I kind of, I said what I did in my comments, that us being very forthcoming.
But Greg, we also rely on you guys to see the bigger picture. Like, there's a lot of retailers who would say they don't want any patios in Charlottetown because there's not enough parking. And to me, that is not seeing the bigger picture, right? They're so concerned that their people who are coming to their shops, which are lovely and important, don't have enough parking. But they fail to see that restaurants and product are driving the people downtown. And that's why we need you guys to be able to look at it from 500 feet and say, these are valid concerns. We don't want to hurt these businesses, but there is a greater good that we're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. And if you look at the patios that we have approved and the extra patios we approved, I think we've answered the bell. Anybody who's come in and asked, I mean, even to Kent, your application to have extra seats underneath, we've done it. So I think we are seeing the picture. We are absolutely answering the bell. But again, this one's a little different. This has been here for a while. We're certainly not looking for. I'm not looking for Jeff or anyone to say, Greg, approve it based on this. Us or deny it, sorry, based on our request because we don't like it because it's competition. This is much bigger, and this is why we've seen this for the last 10 to 12 years. It's because it is big. Now, again, going back to this plan I see here in the proposed. Again, I don't think there's enough addressed in here, Ben, and nothing against you again, but Public Works, and I don't know if this is just lack of communication on both sides or what it is, but Public Works is saying, we don't like this. So I guess I'll go back to your email, Peter. How can you say in your email that staff approve or recommend when Public Works doesn't recommend what's being proposed? Fire saying we don't recommend a street being closed, and police are saying we're okay, we can work with anyone.
That's the reason why we say close off the whole street. That was the point of compromise going forward. If those terms are able to be met, then we felt that we were in a realm of possibility, and that's why we put that issue forward.
And that's why I addressed it on number 9, which is where it says the enter and exit should be from through the church parking lot. We're bringing it to this committee without that, due to the fact of the fiscal and the time constraints for the pilot project for this year. The owner of that residential apartment buildings is not going to spend $5 or $10 grand to pave a new walkway, lose a couple spots, with the possibility that we lose this street closure next year. So I think the pilot project that we're bringing, while it may not be ideal to Public Works or fires, we feel we've addressed the main concerns and are asking committee and council to see through some of the minor concerns or we feel that are minor concerns and work with us for the year and revisit November and we say, yeah, it drove people downtown, it worked, then maybe, because we agree that the long-term plan is to come through the top lots. But it's to ask a business owner, to ask anyone to invest in something that may go away next year and he's gonna lose some parking spots, I don't think that's a fair ask.
So, I'll shut up here in a second, Chair. So when you say minor, I hear minor on one side, but then I hear the manager of Public Works. I mean, it's not, would you consider it minor, what you're saying? I guess I'm trying to, before I cast any kind of vote on this, I want to be certain that we've covered off everything that we need to cover off.
I guess I look at it, so my job is to kind of lay out all the potential issues to council. And like I say, the concerns that we have is that there's not a proper turnaround for, it could be a 16-year-old new driver, could be someone who's older or anything like that, that gets down there, because there's a lot of signs, a lot of things going on downtown. So people are mostly paying attention to the roadway around them, not the signs around them. So if someone gets down there, has to turn around the parking lot, what if they get in a fender bender? There's other people trying to turn around. So that, again, like I say, that is a significant concern, because we don't want people to turn around private driveways. We get complaints about that at other spots about that, and it's just something we don't want to encourage. And then again, like I say, it is concerning that if we keep swapping the road, that portion of the road from two-way to one-way daily, there is a high risk that someone gets confused, signs don't get put up properly, and if there's ever an accident, then the liability falls on the city. So it's a...
What if we put 2 gates? We put a gate at the top that said local traffic only, and had it blocked off on City Street as well. It's not really switching it to a two-way. Again, it's for the 30 or 40 cars, and maybe 25% of them might leave to go it the other way. They do that anyways on every Sunday for the last 5 years, and there was not a person up there until I brought this up last year to City, saying, well, these guys are doing it every Sunday with no one at the top with a barricade. And then the week after I brought it up, there was someone sitting there. So I agree that there's some concerns, but for 4 years there was no concerns.
Right. And I guess, and that's great, that's awesome that we have such a great track record, but what happens when that one time does happen? That's the big concern, that we always have to err on the side of caution. And that's where I try to err, is because we try to design plans so that this doesn't happen. And so the best way to try to mitigate those types of concerns or near misses or accident is to, is to put up these barriers or these barriers in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And so that's why it's a concern from us. It is just there is that risk, and there are ways to mitigate those risks, and that's why we make this recommendation to council that it would be closed at the intersection, not down.
So what if we did do 2 gates? If there was a gate up top saying no through or local traffic only, so it would hopefully alleviate some of that concern where that 16-year-old driver's coming down, where it would really be difficult for him to go down.
It could help that, but then on the flip side, some of the issues are if you open it up after whatever time you plan to open up. Now again, it's a one-way street, but what happens? That person comes out of the parking lot that forgets that it's this time of day and turns left to go back towards Great George instead of actually turning right to go to Queen Street. So there are, again, those concerns of trying to switch it from a one-way to a two-way every day.
The other point, Mr. Chair, is that with these gates going up or whatever they're going to be bollards, there will be need some financial contribution from the owners as well. It cannot be fully on the dime of the taxpayers. They also need to come to the table as well. So that is yet a discussion to be had, and that's why we said we look forward to having that clarified as well.
And in the plan as well, it was brought up their proposal, just for reference, Victoria Road was closed for the first 10 years with the city barricade. So for a pilot, and while I agree there's some concerns and safety concerns, it has been done, and it's not that expensive, not that difficult to do, whether or not we want to do that this year, but if maybe it's just a barricade at the top of the street every day that basically is very difficult to drive through with the proper signage.
Point taken. Mr. Rivera, or Councilor Rivera,
So
sorry.
July 8th, Ben, you put down here as you're kind of hoping to get going. What's the kind of drop dead date that makes this viable still? And the reason I'm asking the question is I still think there needs to be a little work done on this.
With all due respect, Greg, this has been we've been talking about this for way too long. There's, we feel for this year, this plan is acceptable for a pilot, and we would like a vote. We would like something, because every time we come back, it's 2 weeks later. This year has been going on for probably 8 weeks, and we're at the same spot as we were 8 weeks ago. And it's being pushed back to committees, to councils, and all that. Unfortunately, the decision has to be made one way or the other,
Okay.
and let's move on.
Sure.
And we hope that the committee and council can see the bigger picture from the higher level, to give it a shot for a year, to work through the problems, and make it work.
Okay.
You done?
Yeah.
Sure, last call.
No, I'm trying to listen. This is tough, because
And I echo Greg's comments too. This is hard for council.
I like
Very
the-
hard, because everybody likes the streets, because like a few business trips I've been on, like Ottawa and all that, they're beautiful. But at the same time, we gotta look out for everybody down there. And the biggest thing that I'm hearing from some councillors, it's a safety, you wanna make sure everybody's safe, and you wanna make sure everybody's on board, every business down there. That, you know, just because 6 are on board, I mean, one guy might not be on board, we gotta try and get them on board, or sort of cancel that thing, you know, just, so everybody works together. We don't wanna hurt anybody that.
I would argue that if the city wanted to do something with no one on board, and we thought it was the best thing for Charlottetown, that's what council should do. Yes, it's obviously better when everyone's on board.
That's right.
But some decisions are very difficult to make, and that you guys deal with those every week. But you got to look at the pros and the cons and decide what's best for Charlotte.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, I know you said echo my comments, but I want to be crystal clear too, that this is a small part of my decision that I'm going to, or recommendation.
Correct.
Is what you just pointed out. For me, it's still, I still look at the recommendations that Peter sent, because Peter was in. We had him as well meet with you great folks to come up with a solution with you folks, everything else. And me personally, I still feel there's unanswered questions that I would need to have answered before I'm comfortable. I know that you want a vote on this, Ben. I can tell you right now that I like the idea, but with the unanswered questions, I don't know.
What exactly is the questions you would like answered?
Well, I need to address.
Mr. Chair, because this is not meant to be a debate, it's meant for the persons
Discussion.
here to bring forth their point of view. They then leave it for the council or the committee to discuss, but it's not meant to be a debate, it's meant for information so you can make a decision.
Okay.
But if he has specific questions to us,
And
and
they've been asked all along through.
well, he still has them, so.
So is that,
But normally they give information, if they need more, then you folks ask for the information, and then it's up to you folks to make a decision.
all right. So is that it? Anyone got any more
Duffy?
comments, questions? Michael?
I
Sorry,
just have a few
Councillor Duffy,
comments.
sir.
This is quite a dilemma. There's no
It
doubt
is.
about it. I take the downtown core, whether it's restaurants, clothing stores, or food stores, or drugstores, I take it very seriously, severely seriously, in fact. We've had, my wife and I have had 2 daughters, both have worked downtown, both went through university. Our younger daughter worked with Ben's grandfather at the Kirkwood Motel, and if you remember the Kirkwood Motel, you're all in the twilight years of your life, as I am. She went to work as an 11-year-old, which I assumed that would mean she was in grade 5. She worked there, ended up at Dooley's, and went on to, she's now the park warden in the national parks here in PEI. Our other daughter worked in downtown, the Black Forest Cafe, which is a couple of doors up from Fishbones now. And if you can remember that, like, you're really in trouble as far as age goes. But the whole burr in my saddle on this whole thing is that, you know, I support business 110% downtown Charlottetown, but the burr in the saddle, and a big burr, is the fact that I never want to promote anything that ends up being a promotion to some, while at the same time being detrimental, and severely detrimental to others. And that is the bone of the deliveries. And while some folks can live with it or can accommodate it, there's one company that's going to be in severe trouble. So I don't like to see that happening. But we are going to meet at 5 o'clock this evening, I hope. I hope you get, hear some of my colleagues, our colleagues on council, discuss this issue, we get some fresh ideas. I'm really also fearful about the liability and the chance of a member of the general public suffer an injury down there. Maybe that's a unfounded deal, but I just know when someone gets hurt in these sort of things, it's just like when something happens, like a boarding house burns in a particular area. The first thing people want to know is when was the last time that place was inspected by the fire inspectors with the city, with the particular city. It's never the proprietors or the general public. It's always the municipality that carries the blame. So, and even if we weren't carrying the blame, I wouldn't be very happy with anybody getting hurt. So, thank you very much, by the way, for your presentations this afternoon. We'll be meeting at 5, I assume.
Yes.
So we'll take it from there, but I guarantee you, I'll be casting a vote before 7 o'clock tonight, one way or the other. How's that?
Okay, we'd like to thank you for your input. They're great presentations. Ben, Jeff, Gordy?
Oh, can I just add one more thing?
Yes, sir.
My wife and I have embarked on an eating tour, for lack of a better term, to kickstart the restaurants in downtown Charlotte. We picked 2 restaurants a week. We're going to put a few pounds on, but we can live with that. We've already hit Richard Mann Pub. That was the first one. The second one was John Brown's, and this is Liam Dolan week. We're going to Peaks Quay one night this week, and we're going to a former place of Liam's, to the Dublin Pub on the weekend. So that shows the commitment that my wife, especially, who does some work for Thai Pie, both of us have in the city. So we're in your corner. Thank you.
So Councillor Duffy, so I guess it's up to you and I, as the only 2 councillors here, to put a recommendation forward for tonight's meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking about the July 8th because I was looking to defer it, not to anybody's applause here, to get some of the questions answered. Do you have a?
No, I am happy to talk about it.
I get it, but again,
This you and I met 3 years ago on this, so right, like so.
Yeah.
And it's been going on.
I know, and again, without debating, sorry, Peter, it's not about not meeting. It's about this. We're this far along, and we still have so many unanswered questions. To me, anyways. I mean, again, I see the plans today, but the email that was sent, not quite matching up with what Public Works. I wasn't part of those meetings, so this is fresh to me. It's going to be fresh to council tonight. These are the same questions being asked. I don't have answers. I know you're trying to provide answers. They're not matching up, which is why I was going to defer it.
Yeah.
I know we want to Band-Aid off this. So
if I could, Mr. Chair, because council is meeting at 5 o'clock, you could forward it without recommendation for further discussion. I mean, you can bring this committee's perspective at that meeting, but obviously there'd be more members of council there, and you would have a more robust discussion, and at that time they could make a decision by bringing the information they forward as well, and
I do have
staff will be here as well.
if you want.
You good with that, Councillor
Mr.
Duffy?
Chair, you can go forward with a definitive recommendation if you choose, as long as everyone understands it's only a recommendation to council to get it on the floor, similar to a resolution. Just because you move or second a resolution doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to vote the way the resolution reads. It's just a formality to get it on the floor for discussion. So if we recommend to kill this idea, or we recommend to approve this idea, it's no bearing on Councillor Rivera or Councillor Duffy of what they're going to say or what they're going to listen to tonight, the way they're going to cast their vote on the resolution.
the only thing different, Councillor Duffy, is that if we did move to defer to get these questions answered, then it doesn't come to the vote tonight.
Yeah, but from my experience, especially as of late, deferment never accomplishes anything, let alone the answers to the councillor. And you know that as well as I do. It's more like let's take the week off and talk about this next week sometime. And when we come back next week sometime, you say, Well, what did we learn in the week that we were gone? Nothing. We just took the week. That has happened, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Anyway,
it
I'm not
has.
being critical. I'm just saying I don't want to taint the process by, so we can go without a recommendation and speak at the same level tonight as we've spoken here this afternoon. I have no problem with that. You all right with that, Councillor Burke?
Sure.
You need to move on to.
And I'm sorry.
Or from Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and it may be a deferment. You know, council may decide tonight, let's defer this till, but that's gonna not sit well if for those folks that,
Yeah, we had 8 weeks, and July 8th is already 1 week into
Yeah.
that, so.
yeah, I see.
Yeah. So you'd like to make, you want to make a motion for that for tonight, Councillor
You
Duffy?
want me to move,
Just
that we
refer to
recommend to
council.
move, I'm sorry,
To refer to council for this evening?
refer it to council without recommendation. That
Yeah, I'll
leaves it
second
pretty,
that.
okay.
Hold on tonight.
And there'd be
Referred by
three-
Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff, Rivard, sorry. That we refer that for this evening's meeting.
I guess a vote's a little bit.
Questions called?
Yep,
In favor?
Yep, in favor?
got it.
Can I
Oh,
just have
sorry.
Can I just have clarification? I know I'm not allowed to vote, but where does fire stand? Can you find your head around it, or you can't?
I can.
You can't,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make sure that's clear.
All right. And we stand to adjourn, and once again, we'd like to thank everybody for their time and effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.